I think Tony Romo is outstanding. I think he is one of, if not the most unfairly maligned quarterback of my lifetime. He is consistently one of the top-rated quarterbacks in football. I think he's the second highest-rated quarterback in league history. So I think a lot of the Tony Romo hate is absurd. However, the Cowboys have to stick with Dak Prescott. And there are three very distinct, I think almost obvious reasons why. Reason number one, if Dak deteriorates, you can then go to Tony Romo. If Dak doesn't have it down the stretch, you can go to Romo. And the flip side isn't true. Reason two is if you go to Romo and he's not right, or he gets dinged up, or he's rusty, to expect Dak to be able to get right back on the roll he's on right now is unrealistic. And reason three, and maybe the most important one, is this. You cannot trade Tony Romo this year. It's impossible, okay? Nobody cares about the salary cap machinations, but in short, trading him would make his cap hit this year $40 million. They don't have the room to do it, so that's off the table. But you can trade him next year. And what playing Dak the rest of the way, or at least until he shows you he can't do it, what that does is it gives you the information you need to figure out, can we move on from Tony Romo? And that's key, because the Dallas Cowboys very quietly have become one of the best drafting organizations in all of sports. Some numbers for you. Cowboys last year, 9 homegrown Pro Bowlers, tied with the Vikings for the most homegrown Pro Bowlers on any opening day roster this year. The Cowboys in the first round do it better than anyone in the league. Look at this. Dez Bryant, star. Tyron Smith, maybe the best in the league at what he does. Maurice Claiborne, they traded up for him. That one didn't work out so well. Travis Frederick, maybe the best center. Zach Martin, one of the best guards. Byron Jones, solid player. Ezekiel Elliott, right now this season, the best running back in football. He and LaShawn McCoy. We live in a world where Sam Bradford gets you a first and a fourth. What does Tony Romo get you? At least that, probably more. So you've got the team that drafts in the first round better than any team in the sport. Dez Bryant, Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, all Pro Bowlers. Ezekiel Elliott will be. That's 5 of their last 7 first-round picks are Pro Bowlers. Your entire offensive line is locked up. Dez is locked up. Ezekiel's on a rookie deal. Dak's on a rookie deal. You drafted Jalen Smith from Notre Dame, who would have been a top 10 pick if he didn't suffer a terrible knee injury in the second round. He hopefully will be back next year. You drafted Randy Gregory, who, if he can stay off weed, it would appear, he's an outstanding player. He'll be coming back at some point. If you go into next year with Dak in year 2, Zeke in year 2, 2 first-round picks, plus whatever else you get from Romo to upgrade your defense, you are one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. Period, point blank. There is no downside to staying with Dak. If he deteriorates, you go to Romo. If he's awesome, because here's the risk if you go to Romo. Let's say you go to Romo and he's good. While I am buying on Dak, I think he's been very good. I want to see a little bit more before I commit the future of my franchise to him. But if you go to Romo, your hope is that Romo's your starting quarterback the rest of this year, all of next year, maybe the year after. At that point, Dak's contract is up. and you're going to pay him or not pay him based on 6, 7, 8 games, there is no downside to staying with Prescott. But this is where sports media is unfair. Unless the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, we're going to say they made the wrong decision. If they go to Romo and they get knocked out in the first or second round of the playoffs, we will say, well, should have stuck with Dak. And if they stay with Dak and they get knocked out in the first or second round of the playoffs, we're going to say, well, you had Tony Romo sitting there. We will Monday morning quarterback this no matter what you do. So you've got to be deaf to it. You've got to ignore that and just say, what is the upside and the downside to each of my decisions? The upside to going to Romo is what? That you potentially maybe get slightly better quarterback play. The downside is you might lose part of the locker room. You might stunt Dak Prescott's growth. And you deprive yourself of valuable information on how good Dak actually is. Let's do the other way around. What is the upside to sticking with Dak? Team's on a roll, one of the best teams in the league. The locker room seems to support him. You learn about this potentially incredibly valuable asset that you have on a essentially free contract. You learn if Romo is tradable. If so, then the upside becomes an extra first-round pick, maybe an extra second-round pick. If Bradford goes 1-4, first and a fourth, I think Romo can go a first and a second, certainly a first and a third. What's the downside to staying with Dak? Well, maybe he will start playing poorly. Well, it's not like you're cutting Romo. He's still there. And you, by the way, if you play Dak, it's not like you have to, trade Romo this offseason. I just think if he plays well enough and the way the Cowboys draft, again, the Cowboys and Vikings are the only two teams to draft more than 3 Pro Bowlers in the first round since 2010. Cowboys have drafted 4. It's going to be 5. And the Vikings, by the way, have done it with 10 first-round picks in that span. The Cowboys have had 7. No team in the league has been better in the first round than the Dallas Cowboys. I know it's anathema to us. It doesn't seem like that. That's not who they've been. That is who they are. You have 3 stud offensive linemen from the first round. You have a stud running back and a top 6 wide receiver, all in the first round. And other places in the draft, they've been good. And in they were the team that took a flyer on Lyle Collins after the draft. I understand that Peter King was on here yesterday talking about how the Cowboys wanted Paxton Lynch. They wanted this, they wanted that. But they were the team that took Dak. Once you get done talking, they were the team that said, screw it, we're taking him. Yes, some luck played into this. And I can't believe I'm saying it. I am a Romo guy. I think Romo's unfairly maligned. I think he's really good. I think that we are wildly unfair in the media. And this guy a decade ago muffed a snap that he shouldn't have even been holding. And because of that, we decided, choker, loser, can't handle it. You guys remember how crazy we were about Romo? Then, during a bye week, he took a vacation. And we're like, screw you, man. Should have been living in the facility. You're out there trying to have carnal relations with Jessica Simpson. We've never been fair to Romo. And that I don't like. But here's the thing about sports. It ain't always fair. And this whole you don't lose your job due to injury, yeah, you do. Sure you do. It's cutthroat business, man. It's got nothing to do with someone's feelings. Romo's still going to get paid. And if Dak is really great, Romo will get to have a final act of his career in a different city. But don't overlook the importance of learning. Just keep this in mind. If you go back to Romo, you hope Dak Prescott does not see the field for the rest of this season, all of next season, and likely the season after. That's your hope, right? If you go back to Romo, it's not, well, we're going to go back to Romo, but we'll get Dak on. No, you hope this is our guy, that he'll stay healthy, that he's our guy. And his play hasn't been deteriorating, so you can't say, maybe just for another year. If you go back to Romo, your hope is that Dak does not start a regular season game again until his rookie contract is up. And then you got to make a decision. Do we draft a quarterback? Do we pay him a lot of money? What do we do? Do we trade him? You know who Tony Romo is. If Dak can be, as a rookie, 85% of the player at 5% of the salary, and Romo can fetch you some assets, to me, it's an obvious one. And the team's 5-1 and really good. I mean, Kristine, there are a lot of surprising teams in the league this year. I think the Vikings are probably the top of everybody's list. They had all those injuries and they're undefeated. And the Panthers in the other way are, they're 1-5. They're dreadful. But the Cowboys have to be one of the biggest surprises in the league, right?
Because of Dak's success and that they're surviving without Tony?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say so. I like it. And I also like that you're aboard Team Dak.
Yeah, and Colin cares about a lot of the off-the-field stuff more than I do.
Okay.
But I do think with a quarterback, it's important. It's one of the reasons I'm so mad at Eli Manning. And man, Dak sure handles himself well.
He's perfect. I've never even seen him slightly messed up. Did you hear that he had tickets to the Kanye concert? He had 3 days before a game, and he didn't go.
Yeah,
because he'd rather watch games.
Yeah, I think it was a bad decision.
You think what?
I think it was a bad decision. You can go see Kanye.
Well, yeah, Kanye's great. There's nothing wrong with feeding your creative personality as well.
But the point you made yesterday was when you guys played an Odell quote, and he said in passing, "I'm 23."
Yeah.
And you were like, gosh, this is a reminder that he is a child, basically. And so Dak's also 23. Odell's obviously been in the league a few years longer. But that type of poise, that type of presence and maturity in that big of a spotlight at that age is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, and again, it is a lot easier to stick with Dak, and if he's bad, go to Romo, than it is to go to Romo. If he's bad, go back to Dak.
Yes.
And by the way, if you do that, then Romo is done in Dallas, right? Like if they go to Romo, he's bad, and then they go back to Dak, even if Dak then is bad as well, Romo's done in Dallas.
Yeah.